Hi there, I'm Peter Karoff, Department of Music, and I'll be teaching in the fall of 21. I'm also the general coordinator of the Venice program, too.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andres Galushanka. I teach political theory and political thought in the politics department, and I'll be a resident professor in the spring of 2022. So hopefully we have enough time to sort all the pandemics out.
And hi, everybody. I'm Barry Trachtenberg. I'm in the Department of History. My wife, Jennifer Greiman, who is a professor in English, and I were supposed to be the faculty in Venice right now. But of course, things have been delayed a bit. So we will be the resident professors in fall of 22. And by then, everything will be back to normal or even better than before. We are very confident of this. So we're looking forward to that.
Great, thank you, everyone. And I'll pass it over to Professor Karoff.
Hi, folks. So I'm going to put on my hat as kind of the general administrator of the program. I've been a director of this wonderful house for 25 years now. It's hard to believe. It's an amazing place. You've seen pictures of it, and I don't need to tell you that it is a spectacular place to spend a semester. Venice has some magic in it. You know, it's just, it's more different than anywhere you can possibly go and study abroad. There's no cars, it's like taking a step back 300 or 400 years in time. So we're delighted and excited that you guys are interested in possibly studying with one of us. You know, Venice is also a place with lots of kind of like sort of a tourism vibe. It's a it's a place a lot of people visit just for maybe a couple hours on their way to a cruise or something. So it's a real privilege to live in a palace like the one you see in front of you for a whole semester, you know, and to kind of get behind the scenes a little bit, to live in Venice as a Venetian, to get behind the mask, to get behind the facade, and to make friends with locals, and to be in a long line of visitors to Venice. You know, people have been visiting and enjoying and loving it for hundreds of years. So it's a treasure in a jewel in the crown of Wake Forest. So here's the little courtyard inside. You know, it's true there's no cars in Venice, but there's sidewalks everywhere. So you can walk everywhere in the city, and usually the grand views are from the water, but most of the time you're coming in the back door. And this is one of the beautiful open spaces. You can see there's terraces there and so on. The image on the left on your screen is the central courtyard. From the courtyard, the French doors on the left would take you to that. And then this is that long central corridor. In the distance, you see the grand gateway onto the Grand Canal. But the books line the walls on the right there, and lots of study space. The image on the right is a dorm room, you know, a double dorm room with a beautiful view of the Grand Canal. So, and that strange white fuzzy thing hanging there in the middle is actually a mosquito net. This must have been taken in the summer. But anyhow, it's quite an atmospheric place. So each of us will be telling you about the classes we'll be teaching in the next couple of semesters, but just give me a second or two to tell you about what we always offer. I just want to say that we offer a menu of courses, a long list of courses. Nobody can take all of them, but there's just a bunch of them that you can pick and choose from. So every semester we offer art history, Art 269. That's a class that is designed to open your eyes to the world around you while you're in Venice. It's a fun class because you sit in a classroom one day and look at images on a screen of famous paintings by wonderful masters of the past, and then the next day you all go down and walk together to that church or museum that's just 5 minutes walk away from our house and see the real thing that's still hanging there. It's been there for 500 years. So that's not, it'll teach you to see the world a little differently, and also teach you to see Venice a little differently. You'll recognize things like, oh, that window is shaped that way. That must be from the 1200s because that's what we learned, you know, etc. So that's a fun class. We encourage everybody to take it. You don't have to, but if you don't take that class, you are asked to at least go on the walks that the class does once a week. So you don't have to take the class, but you take something called Venice Walks for one credit pass fail. It's just show up and listen to our professor, Dr. Chiari, who knows everybody and knows everything about everything in Venice. So that's a privilege to walk into great museums, and she literally opens doors that are locked to the public and strolls right in. So that's fun. Okay, next you see History 119 Venice and the World. This is the History of Venice. It's a divisional class. You can see the little D. It gives cultural diversity credit as well. And that's a class in which a lot of it takes place actually walking around the city. You learn about how Venice was really a central force, a central player in the world in the 1200s and 1300s and 1400s, and really up until the 1800s when it starts to become more of a tourist attraction. But Venice was really more like Manhattan than, unfortunately now it's become more like Disneyland. But anyhow, it's a fun class, and it's again, an interesting opportunity to see yourself there in 2020 or 2021 or 22 as part of a long history of what that city has meant to the world. Most semesters we also offer an econ class, which is a divisional bearing class. It's if there's interest in it. We don't always offer that, but if there's interest, we sure can. And in the right column, you see classes that we ask everybody to take of the menu of courses that are being offered. You should take some Italian, right, while you're there. You should learn how to talk to people as you go into the stores and so on. And so most students will take elementary Italian. If you haven't had that before, that's fine. If you've had some Italian, which maybe a quarter of our students do recently, we offer it at every level. So you can take 153, 216, whatever, just whatever you can handle. We've got a professor for you to offer it. And then Humanities 160 is a little interesting thing. It's sort of a course, but it's more of an experience, actually. It's called Venice Today, and basically it's an opportunity for our students to meet students from the University of Venice. So we get our students grouped into small groups, 3, 4, or 5 kids of ours, an equivalent number of Venetian college students. And we give everybody, each group, a topic based on your own interest, really. So it could be, I don't know, if you're into science, it might be the ecology of the lagoon or the environment, or if you're interested in tourism or immigration or whatever. We get a topic, you guys work on it, sit around, have coffee and talk in various languages. It's fun. But then the goal at the end is you present a PowerPoint presentation to everybody. All of us get together, all the Italians, all the American students, and we learn what you've learned. And so you'll show us something about Venice, and you'll learn some things yourself, and you'll meet some local kids in the meantime. It's pass fail, which means it's pass, right? I mean, nobody fails. If you just show up and do it, it's a wonderful way to get to see Venice as a little through the eyes of locals and to what it's like now, not just as a historical artifact. So anyhow, those are the menus of courses that are offered all the time. And then each of us, the professors who are going to be, they have the honor to be with you for this semester, we each offer 2 courses in our respective disciplines. So this is a good chance for each of us now to kind of introduce ourselves and tell you what we'll be teaching in addition to what you just heard about. I'm chairman of the music department, so been at Wake Forest for a long time, and have been honored to be the director of the Venice House for, 25 years. So it's a place I love and know very well, and very, very grateful to be able to share with students for a whole semester at a time. So the courses I'll offer, again, you can take either one or both of them. The first one is just the history of music in Italy. Basically, we'll be listening to things like Vivaldi's Four Seasons or a Verdi opera or whatever, and looking at them not so much as like a musical artifact, and analyzing it in theoretical or musicological terms, so much as we'll be looking at them as a product of the place and time in which they were written. So, my great contention is that music does really reflect the time it was new. And so Vivaldi's Four Seasons, for example, tells us a lot about the 1720s in Venice and so on. So it's a course not for, designed to be a course for people who've never had any kind of musical study before. So I presume nobody has taken a music class in that class. And it also offers an arts divisional as well. That's a fun class. We'll go to concerts and I'll play some music and concerts. I have a lot of friends in Venice who are professional musicians of international stature, actually. So we'll be bringing them into the house, and so we'll have opera night and chamber music night and stuff like that. Should be fun. And the other course is in the honors area, the interdisciplinary honors. And this is a chance to broaden our view of Venice a little bit. Venice is a kind of symbol or metaphor. We'll be reading books, looking at films, reading literature, and looking at the music as well, and just seeing the way people over the centuries have used Venice as a kind of symbol. You know, it's been a symbol for lots of different things. Some very happy and jolly, some more sinister, but it's a place that has loomed large in the imagination of American and European creative people over the centuries. So that'll be a chance for us to kind of see ourselves as in the chain of visitors. You know, we'll be reading Byron or Mark Twain and Goethe, and people who visited Venice and who were kind of gobsmacked by the place, and then we'll be able to compare our own responses to theirs. So that's a little bit about that. Next person.
Hello again. So I do not have an academic family. My wife and our 5-year-old will be joining us. My wife is an artist, although she did teach Introduction to Printmaking at Wake Forest last year. So she does have some teaching capabilities, but she will not be teaching together with us. But anyhow, we'll be there together. And as Alessandra said, we'll be in our own quarters. So you know, the kid will not be bothering you in any way. And anyhow, so I'm a historian of political ideas primarily. I write on liberalism and on topics especially such as justice, animal rights, immigration, the freedom of movement, and the importance of culture. And so the kind of courses that I'll be offering will reflect these themes. So the first course is an introductory course to political ideas. So you don't have to have any knowledge about political ideologies at all, but it'll be focused on Italian political thought. So when we study, for example, socialism, we'll look at the Italian socialist and topics related to Italy as well. So when we talk about labor unions, for example, we will be focusing on the local context as much as possible. There were various interesting Italian thinkers. For sure, you've heard of Niccolo Machiavelli. So I'll try to expand the courses not to focus solely on contemporary 20th century thought, but we'll go back a little bit to the past just so that we can get a better sense of Italian thinkers and their contributions. So we'll be studying traditions such as socialism, liberalism, Marxism, liberalism, realism, and then trying to relate them to particular topics, such as when we study the political right, we'll ask why it is that they're trying to preserve a particular culture and why they take it to be an argument against immigration and so on. The second course is environmental political thought, which begins in a theoretical way. We will ask what reasons we have to respect other creatures. This may sound like a question with a very obvious answer, but you'd be surprised in academic literature how much resistance there was to granting a status to creatures other than humans. So we'll ask on what grounds we can extend rights to creatures other than humans, rights to animals, for example. And in the second part of the course, we'll focus on particular issues such as waste and environmental justice, the fact that we all live in a consumer society, but the costs of that waste usually fall either on certain economic groups, namely the poorest, or on some ethnic and racial minorities. So we'll be looking at issues such as these, and we'll look at sustainable development and the way countries deal with their industrial past, and that's, I think, particularly helpful to do in Venice, to see how we're creating a post-industrial city. And climate change will be one of the topics as well. That's it for me. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Right as it turned to us, I lost my screen. I don't know how to get Zoom back. Hang on one second. There we go. Hi, I'm Jennifer Greiman. I'm sorry, I'm late. I got stuck in the rain with a dog and a kid. There will actually be 2 faculty members in the fall of 2022. Barry Trachtenberg and I will be teaching, will be co-resident directors of Casa Artom. We were scheduled to be there this semester, co-directing the house. And so we are going to be teaching the courses that we had initially imagined that we would be teaching right now. And we'll be going with our now 6-year-old daughter, who will be an 8-year-old daughter then. And if we went now, I could not promise that she would not bug you, but maybe by the time she is 8, she will mind her own business a little bit. But this is always helpful. I can tell you a little bit about the course that I'll be teaching. Both Professor Trachtenberg and I have designed our courses as divisional courses. We imagine this semester, which will now be the fall of 2022, to be a semester in which you can take care of up to 5 divisional courses in a single semester. And mine is a Division 2 class on American literature, but it's going to be a course on American writers in Italy. So we'll be using a series of writers from the 19th to the 20th century for whom Italy was a really important touchstone. The middle of the 19th century, during the Risorgimento, American authors were captivated by Garibaldi, the revolutionary leader. For Nathaniel Hawthorne, he was a fascinating character. Margaret Fuller emigrated to Italy to join the Risorgimento, married a revolutionary herself. So we'll begin the course by looking at the ways in which Italy first presented itself as a source of political innovation to American authors who were at a crisis point right before the Civil War. And then we'll look at how Italy always served as a point of access to the past for American authors, where you could go and see sort of Rome rise before your eyes, or see ancient Rome rise before your eyes, or the Renaissance is sort of like always present in a city like Venice. At the same time, it's also this place where modernity is emerging in a really powerful way. So I'm very interested in the ways in which Italy means so many different things that might seem almost antithetical to American writers for 100 years. One of the assignments that I have been working on, and I began working on it a year ago when I went to visit Casa Artom for the first time, is an assignment where we are going to look at 19th century guidebooks that Nathaniel Hawthorne and Henry James used and that their characters used. And we're going to be tracing their tours through Italian cities, certainly Venice, possibly Florence or Rome too, to think about the ways in which books mediate the cities that they're visiting, even as they're writing books about those cities. So I'm excited about the class. I was all ready to go with it, so it's very present in my mind.
And I'll just talk very quickly about my class, which may shift a little depending on sort of the political situation in Europe, but I'll be teaching a history divisional, History 102, Europe in the World in the Modern Era. This is a class that I started teaching after the fall 2016 election, where I wanted to understand the origins of the totalitarian movements that emerged in Europe in the middle of the 20th century, basically looking at the long origins of where Nazism came from and Stalinism came from. And as a guide, we use in the class excerpts from the work of the political thinker Hannah Arendt, who wrote a work called Origins of Totalitarianism, which came out soon after World War II. So following her model in this class, we look at the rise of European nationalism and the Jewish question and the role that it played in the creation of modern European national identities. Then we look at the Europe's expansionism and the imperial moment in Europe, and then the rise of totalitarianism. What we'll do in fall of 22 is use Italy as the case study for each one of those moments. And so we'll spend time talking about Italian unification, how the many different pieces that came to make Italy came together. We'll then look at Italy's efforts to become an imperial power with invasions on parts of Northern Africa and Ethiopia. And then we'll look at the rise of Mussolini and the fascism in Italy and the role of Italy in World War II and the Nazi Holocaust. We'll then, at the end of the course, look at more recent periods as to why some of these totalitarian movements in Europe seem to be returning and the resistance to them. So that's what we'll be focusing on. And working with Jennifer will coordinate our trips together so that we can study our two different classes sort of at the same time. So we're going to be looking for ways to integrate that as much as possible for folks. Thanks.
So if I may, I'll just jump in now and again as the overseer of the house and talk about generally. But first, I just want to say, dang, man, I want to take all those semesters. They sound so good, just so intriguing, and just can we all well, anyway. So every semester we do organize group trips. We all go to Florence as a group one weekend. Each professor also organizes one or two group excursions which are relevant to their academic focus for that semester. There's lots and lots of arts and history-based walks in the city and in the surrounding area. We take trips in the lagoon to the various islands and so on. You should also know that every week we try and have classes end on a Thursday afternoon and keep Fridays open so that students can take advantage of their presence in Europe. And it's not unusual to see everybody with their backpack ready to go on their last class on Thursday and then boom, onto a plane or a train and flying off to someplace for a wonderful adventure, coming back on Sunday afternoon and sharing all of those. We also, under normal circumstances, have 2 week-long travel breaks. So about 5 or 6 weeks into the semester, we just say, have a great trip, everybody. And classes are suspended for a week and we all go off on our adventures and come back and share those at the end of that week. And then we do the same thing about 5 or 6 weeks after that. I said under normal circumstances because we're presuming that things will get back to normal soon. But there's this giant asterisk over everything we do, as you know, these days. Also, I just wanted to say that this coming fall is the 50th anniversary of Casa Artom as a Wake Forest program. Isn't that amazing? 100 semesters with Wake Forest alumni who just still dream of Venice, 50 years later. So it's a special time, and we're hoping to have some, to mark that occasion in the history of the university with some celebrations and some VIP kind of parties and things like that. So that's something that we're planning to do, not just this fall, but probably the successive spring as well.
Great, thank you. And I'll just briefly go over the application requirements and then we'll move on to any questions that you might have. So if you haven't already applied, you can go on our regular website, studyabroad.wfu.edu, to find the application. But of course, if you have the FAIR website open, there's also a link there that will take you to that page. And basically, you'll need to complete a general application questionnaire that's just several short answers so that the resident professors can learn more about you. You'll upload your transcript as well, and then you'll upload a passport if you have one, just more for our office to make sure that your passport's valid. And if you don't have one, then we can reach out to you and offer any help through that process. You can see the deadlines here on the page. Fall 22, I forgot to list, but that would be October 15th of next year. So with houses, we do have the application typically a year in advance. And then if it doesn't fill, we do extend that deadline until the program does fill. So it's always good to apply early because then you can make plans, well in advance. We suggest that you also meet with your academic advisor to make sure that the program's going to fit well into your plan here at Wake. And, just make sure that you meet with those people so that you know that it's the best program for you personally and academically. And then just so that you're aware, if you are accepted to a program, there's a program deposit, and that's what commits you to that program.